What's up, gang? Today reacting to music myths that turned out to be true. Alright, video by Maddie Balls. Alright guys, let's see what this is all about. Should be fun. Let's go.
There are a lot of myths involving popular musicians, whether it be that Michael Jackson bleached his skin or that Tupac is alive and living in Cuba. However, on occasion...
What do you guys think of that? Number one, I do think Michael Jackson did bleach his skin. I think he was very insecure about him and his perception and what people thought about him. Tupac though, I don't know, bro. That one's kind of sticky. I think it would be very cool though if he was like alive in Cuba somewhere just living life. That's kind of interesting.
Some of these crazy and outlandish theories end up being true. So today we're going to be looking into some music myths that turned out to be true, starting off with Michael Jackson's real voice. Real quick, I wanted to say, while researching this video, I found a ton of myths that obviously aren't true, but a lot of them have some really interesting lore. So if you guys are interested in hearing about all that, let me know in the comments below.
So yes, guys, these are all allegations, bro. This is all just very skeptical opinions, bro. Don't take anything seriously.
It would probably just end up being very similar to my old conspiracy videos, but I bet I could find a few more interesting ones. Also, the way I'm going to be defining myths for this video is things that people didn't believe to be true for a while, or things that were rumored but we weren't quite sure yet. I don't know, I'm not going to use the dictionary definition, but you guys will get the idea throughout the video. Anyways, with that all being said, let's get into it. Being one of the biggest artists ever, it makes sense that many myths have
Greatest of all time.
Developed over time about Michael Jackson. Like I said earlier, it's widely believed by many that he actually bleached his skin, which he has confirmed multiple times as not true. There's some even crazier ones, like his face was burned off and he wore a mask, or that he faked his death, but I actually debunked those two in an old video.
His hair was burned though, that was confirmed. I don't know about his face, but his hair definitely.
However, one of the most popular myths about him is that we never actually heard his real voice, which actually turned out to be sort of true. Years ago, there was a video that went viral on Twitter of Michael Jackson supposedly using his real voice on accident.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Well, it turns out
That's crazy. Bro, that first arm was deep, bro.
that video was edited to make his voice sound deeper, and this is what the actual clip was.
Can you hear me? Okay.
But his voice was actually
It is still deeper, not as crazy as before, but still is. It's definitely a tone higher.
still a little bit lower. However, that was not the only evidence that fans had. There have been multiple clips of him speaking in a lower voice, multiple accounts from friends that he sounds different, and other sources proving otherwise, which have led fans to believe that Michael Jackson was always hiding his real voice. Michael is known for having a high-pitched voice, but there have been multiple people that have said his voice is actually deeper, like T-Pain for example.
And his voice is deep as shit. No, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
What the real Michael Jackson voice sound like?
Man, this is a new episode.
Oh man, hold up! What the fuck the real Michael Jackson voice sound like?
It wasn't. It
Tell us, T-Pain.
was between where you think Michael Jackson is and Prince. It was in between that. It was just like. It was kind of like my. Do I have a? I don't have a deep one. Listen, so I think Michael's was like a. So what kind of cartoons do you watch?
Others have perpetuated this idea too.
And Michael just sitting there with my friend, and he said, at a certain point, Michael looked up and said, "Damn, I thought those motherfuckers weren't gonna never leave."
What I think it is, I wouldn't call them maybe him faking, more just, I know a lot of musicians do it, like Ariana Grande, where you do speak higher, you can keep your range a lot higher when you do sing. Like when you start talking normally and you talk lower, you lose that. You're not able to go as high as you could have before. So you just train yourself to always be speaking at a high volume, just so your voice doesn't crack and go down. So I'm pretty sure Ariana Grande does the exact same thing.
Now, and he says, hold up, and he says this not in, damn, I don't think these motherfuckers will never leave. He says it like a black man would say, damn, I thought the motherfuckers were gonna never leave.
I hate how they say like a black man. He is a black man, you know what I mean?
Then he got up and walked out.
His close friend Liza Minnelli said that she heard him talking in a deeper voice and said, "Michael, you're busted. I got you now. All these years you've been talking in that voice." A journalist named Diane Diamond said that he has a deep masculine voice. Piers Morgan said that depending on the seriousness of the conversation, his tone would drop a few octaves, like if they were talking about business, for example. His musical director said, "I remember a time I called him up and he answered the phone and I didn't know I was talking to him because he was talking in his normal voice, which is pretty deep." deep. Lisa Presley, who Michael was married to for a couple of years and who is also Elvis's daughter, said that when she first met him, he talked in a quote-unquote normal voice. There were also plenty of clips of Michael speaking in a little bit of a lower tone as well.
All the song.
Me too, Cedric.
I still got.
I love you. I
You
think
know
you're very
this,
funny.
man.
You know this, man.
I have an important message to give.
You hear that? You know this, man, at the end, you know?
Okay? It's important, but I thank you for your cooperation so far. Thank you. Big thank you.
This is everyone saying hello.
Thank you. This means the world to me. It really does. Thank you so much.
See, it's still his voice. It's just like, I don't know, when you're not trying compared to when you're trying, you know? Projecting and not projecting.
Big fan, really.
On top of that, probably one of the deepest voices that we've heard from him is him in the video game Ready to Rumble, where he voiced his actual character.
Michael Jackson.
So you be bad, huh? I don't move over for no one.
Of course, Michael had a versatile vocal range, which can be heard in his music and his live performances, and it makes sense that such a talented vocalist would have that much range. He was also apparently really good at doing other voices and joking around, like this time he answered the phone pretending to be his own assistant.
Hello.
Hello.
Who's calling, please?
Looking for Michael.
Who's speaking, please?
Akon.
1 minute, please.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hello.
Akon.
Hey, what's going on, Michael?
But if his real voice was so much deeper than his public voice, then why was he hiding it? Well, first of all, his real voice wasn't
Like I said, I think it's because of the music, honestly.
actually that much deeper than the voice he did in public. It was just more of like a normal pitch. And there are multiple theories as to why he kept the voice the way he did in public. A big rumor that had gone around was that Michael's dad had chemically castrated him. His former doctor, Conrad Murray, even claimed this, but
What the hell? What? Chemically castrated him? What does that even mean? No way.
this doctor was also the person that killed him, was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and had his medical license revoked, so he's probably not the best source. Plus, because MJ was able to grow facial hair, it's unlikely that this actually happened. On top of that, most of the people in his family had naturally higher voices in general. Like Piers Morgan suggested, he spoke softer when speaking in public or with kids, and was a bit more stern when it came to serious subjects. Other friends of Michael thought it was him creating...
That just sounds like code switching though, you know, between the people you talk to. I feel like everybody has a higher voice when they're talking to like children or babies, you know, the little, hi, you know, like that little thing that you do when you're talking to like kids. I think that's very normal.
A persona to protect himself from the intrusive public. But the biggest theory as to why he did this was that it was just to preserve his voice. In reality, it was probably a mix of a few of these things, except for the castration part. He probably was softer spoken when talking
Castration's wild.
about softer subjects, and a bit deeper when it was serious, which is pretty normal for vocal inflections for everybody, not just Michael Jackson. And preserving his singing voice was probably also very important for him as well. So while he did have a real voice that we didn't hear as often, it wasn't all that different from what we were already hearing. And it
Guys, also understand that Michael Jackson is from a time where there was no auto-tune, you know? A lot of people now have a lot of range in their voices, and auto-tune helps them a lot with that. Michael Jackson, it was all raw, you know? If he lost his range through age, it could really and like significantly affect his career. So, I don't know.
Definitely wasn't super deep like some fans have suggested. And while Michael has been subject to many wild myths, there's a rapper who's always been fairly mythical throughout his whole career, and that is MF Doom. MF Doom is a rapper that had a lot of mystery around him. For much of his career, while very successful, MF Doom was also a bit more of an underground artist. After being bullied by his previous record label while in a rap group called KMD, he left the music industry for a while and returned with the name MF Doom. His entire ideology was that because of how the music industry did him at first, he wanted to become rap's first supervillain. He donned a mask that he pretty much never took off in public for the rest of his career. If you couldn't tell, his whole rap persona was heavily inspired by Dr. Doom from Marvel, a pretty cool supervillain. Doom rarely did interviews, didn't speak much on his past, and even when he died, his estate did not tell anyone until months later. So clearly Doom was very mysterious. But one thing that fans began to theorize was that Doom was sending body doubles to his concerts. I mean, it would be pretty easy, right? He had a mask on, and someone that has a similar build and kind of similar voice could definitely pull it off no problem. For example, in his performance at the Rock the Bells concert in
That's such a scam, bro. That is honestly such a scam. You're having performances out and you're just chilling at home.
2007, many people theorized that he was lip syncing because the vocals sounded like a studio track. Plus, in songs, he would even say things like, he plot shows like robberies in and out. 1, 2, 3. No bodies, please. There were plenty of other concerts where fans theorized that Doom wasn't even there. One fan on Reddit even claimed, I went to a MF Doom show in Atlanta.
What if he didn't die and he was actually still alive, but nobody knows? That'd be interesting.
In like 2007-8, where an imposter showed up wearing the mask and lip syncing over the album cut. Everybody caught on, and the fake Doom got chased out the back of the venue, jumped in a car, and peeled out of the parking lot. It was madness. They ended up coming back the next day and giving away a truckload of custom Doom Nikes to make up for it. Who knows if that's actually true, but I wouldn't be too surprised if that actually happened. Regardless, fans were theorizing about these imposters for years, with stories like these.
You get caught, no, just give them Nikes, they'll forgive you, they'll forget.
Floating around the internet for a long time, but they had no proof, no concrete evidence, at least until 2010 on a mini tour he did in Chicago. At the show, a similar situation occurred where the fake MF Doom came out, never addressed the crowd, and only rapped tracks in what sounded like studio quality vocals, and then left. Fans were extremely upset, suspecting a fake Doom, and the venue actually put out a statement that said that the real Doom was not who performed. To be fair though,
Wow.
Doom's production company put out a different statement.
Wow, that's really bad. That's really bad. And especially like once you get caught once doing it, it's like, how many times have you done it? You know, like this is the time you're apologizing because this is the time you got caught. If you never got caught, you're never gonna apologize. You're gonna pretend like it never happened, and probably done more shows like that too. That's insane.
Statement. They said, at the current time, React, Cold Grums, Silver Rapper, and the Congress Theater do not have any proof that the person who performed was not Daniel Dumoulin, aka Doom. The show was legally contracted and paid for in full. The show was officially listed on Doom's website. Regardless, people were pretty upset.
Because it's legit a scam, bro, and fans should be upset, you know? You pay to see an artist, and then you come out and to see for it to be a fake? Nah, that's wrong, bro. Should be refunded, honestly.
With some saying things like, Doom never once said anything except the straight lyric, never once addressed the crowd. Clearly, it was a recorded track laying down rhymes. Once Doom gave a few tracks, maybe 7, he just up and left. The lights popped on, and a few thousand Chicagoans felt like they just got screwed out of $30 each. People were booing and throwing trash at the end, so clearly people were very upset. Then, at a show in Toronto, there was a similar situation. Everyone was already nervous about going because of all this news about Doom imposters. After a shakily planned show and a bunch of nervous fans showed up, an imposter ran out on stage and people were pissed.
Like at this stage, bro, just stop. This is not helping your case at all. If anything, it's ruining your legacy, to be honest, you know? And you have great music too, so why even give them that bait, you know? Nah, bro, it's not worth it.
Then, though, after being booed, the real Doom came out. Turns out his flight was just super late and he was just trolling the fans.
Oh.
Eventually, Doom decided to come clean about his imposters in an interview saying, I liken it to this. I'm a director as well as a writer. I choose different characters, I choose their direction and where I want to put them. So who I choose to put as the character is up to me. The character that I hired, he got paid for it. There's no imposter. When I go to a show, I'm going to hear the music. I'm not going to see no particular person. People need to think outside of the box. So when you come to a Doom show, I'm letting all the cats know now, come to the show and come to hear the music. To see me, y'all don't even know who I am. However, a lot of fans...
That's wrong. That's a bad take. Do not believe in that take. If I'm a fan and I'm coming to see an artist in a show and you've put down there MF Doom, I want to see MF Doom. Not no poser that's been certified by MF Doom, bro. That was not the deal.
Fans weren't too fond of this, especially because he never gave this disclaimer before any of his concerts.
100%.
And it makes perfect sense as to why people were upset about this, but I do think it is kind of cool that he was sending these body doubles. I think I heard rumors that he said before that if the shows weren't paying enough...
It's legit a scam, bro. If you don't want to do live shows, just don't do live shows. Don't now put an imposter and pretend like... No, it's It's terrible.
He would just send a double to do it for him and things like that, which is pretty funny in my opinion. But of course, I get why people were upset about this. So while Doom officially confirmed this crazy myth, Ozzy Osbourne had a few even crazier ones surrounding his life. Ozzy Osbourne, who recently passed away at the age of 76, was one of rock and roll's all-time biggest legends. And as a performer, Ozzy definitely knew how to push the limits. He was one of the founding members of the metal band Black Sabbath, and after allegedly being kicked out due to his unpredictable drug use and antics, he also went on to have a just as successful solo career. During this career, you may remember hearing some pretty wild stories about Ozzy. One of the most famous ones being that he bit the head off of a living bat. And since this allegedly happened over 40 years ago, fans have some conflicting recounts of the facts, especially since Ozzy himself.
That's insane. That is so gross. Can't you die from such a thing? Biting your head off a bat, bro? Nah, that has to be poisonous. That has to be something wrong.
Told a few versions, but this is what actually happened. In January 1980,
Ozzy Osbourne started COVID-19.
Ozzy was about 2 months into an exhausting tour promoting his second solo album, Diary of a Madman. And during this tour, a strange tradition started to develop. Basically, throughout the show, Ozzy would throw pieces of raw meat and animal parts, including intestines.
Yuck! Oh no, bro. That is so crazy, bro. Imagine being in the crowd, bro, enjoying it. Then you just get splattered with intestines and raw meat. That is so gross, bro.
And liver into the audience. Ozzy said the reason was because he thought it was hilarious. And apparently the crowd thought the same as they threw back anything they could sneak into the venues, like sheep testicles, live snakes, and dead rats, to name a few. Anyways, though,
that's so nasty, bro. What kind of fan base is that?
For some context, Ozzy worked at a slaughterhouse and a crematorium growing up, and he had a pretty wild reputation and was known for always being on some type of drugs, so these unique stunts didn't really shock anyone too much. But everything changed when something small and black landed on the stage during a rowdy Wednesday night show in Des Moines, Iowa.
Somebody threw a bat on stage, and I thought it was one of these toy bats. So I picked it up, bite the thing's head off, and suddenly everybody's freaking out 'cause it's a real bat. 'Cause like on the stage set, like the bat goes like asleep when the lights go on it. So.
So it was, for all practical purposes, a toy bat.
Yeah, but I can assure you the rabies shots that I went through afterwards aren't fun.
No, they're painful, I understand.
In his 2010
That's insane, bro. That's a crazy story.
Biography, I Am Ozzy, he describes immediately picking up the object, stuffing it in his mouth, and chomping down. He said, immediately though, something felt wrong. Very wrong. For a start, my mouth was instantly full of this warm...
that's so foul. That is so foul. Yuck.
My mouth twitched. He followed this simply saying, somebody threw a bat. I thought it was just a rubber bat. I picked it up and put it in my mouth. I bit into it. Then he quickly noticed, oh no, it's real. It was a live bat. But as Ozzy...
You know how unhinged you must be to just no instinct, no hesitation, pick up a bat, chomp down on that thing, bro. No, it was a different time.
He was always on some type of drugs and often admits that he doesn't remember a lot of things. His story has conflicted with itself a few times. In a 2006 interview with BBC, he told a similar story, but instead pointing out that the bat was already dead. So while the whole situation is pretty crazy regardless, for fans, it's hard to tell if the bat was truly alive or if it was already dead when thrown on stage. That was
Bro, does it really matter, alive or dead? It's a bat, bro. So gross. Might even be worse if it is dead, bro. For like diseases and shit? Nah, that's crazy.
The man who claims to have brought the bat to the show gave some clarification. Mark Neal, who was 17 at the time, says his younger brother brought the bat home days before the show, trying to save it, but it died. He claims that by the time he took it to the concert, it had already been dead for 2 days. So we can be sure that the bat did end up in Ozzy's mouth, and that it seems to have been most likely dead, making this one of rock's craziest myths. But what's weird is this is not the only myth about him biting off the heads of live animals. 9 months before the bat incident, in Los Angeles, he actually had a similar series of events go down. Again, the details are conflicting and they vary, but here's the basics. Ozzy was set to meet with CBS record label execs, and his wife Sharon had the idea of releasing 3 doves to represent peace. After a short speech giving thanks, Ozzy was supposed to release the birds, but that is not what happened.
Now, but there are other accounts where you bit the head off was it a pigeon?
Well, it's my hobby, you know.
That's not a joke, bro. It's your hobby to bite the heads of animals, bro. especially birds, bro. It's a crazy hobby.
No, now, see, you're going to give these people the wrong. It's not really your hobby, is it?
Let's have a look at your neck.
No, no, no. Hey.
According to one account, Ozzy had been drinking brandy all day before the meeting, and midway through, he grew annoyed with one of the PR women. So, to shut her up, he decided to pull out one of the doves and bite its head off. Then he allegedly did it again with another dove, but this time spitting its head out on the table. Ozzy said, "That's when they threw me out. They said I'd never work for CBS again." And another version told months later, the doves had all—
That's so foul, bro. So just for the sake of attention, just to prove a point, just to make a statement. Oh my god, that is so wild. And that one was live. 100% that was live. So weird, bro.
apparently died already, and in Ozzy's words, "Rather than waste it, I bit its head off." So once these myths were later clarified by Ozzy himself and others, it seems like it's true that he did enjoy biting the heads off of dead or alive animals. And well, this myth was really crazy and
like they said though, he was born and raised in a slaughterhouse. So I guess beheading and killing of animals just didn't phase him the way it phased most people, you know?
silly. The next one is a bit more serious and could have even had real consequences for US citizens. For a long time, there have been myths floating around that the FBI was surveilling John Lennon, one of the members of the Beatles. And you might be wondering, why would they do that? What sort of threat could this guy possibly pose? Well, the FBI has actually always been up to some type of shenanigans when it comes to musicians, and the government has too in general. The CIA has been known to fund musicians who share their ideologies, especially during the Cold War, to sponsor anti-communist activity. They even organized tours for musicians across the world so that they could fight against communism. Then there was the notorious FBI counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO for short. COINTELPRO had a lot of objectives, according to PS Mag, to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize subversive political groups. Though the program targeted many different progressive movements, it spent most of its energy attempting to suppress black civil rights groups and prominent black figures with connections to civil rights groups, however small. COINTELPRO infamously sent Martin Luther King Jr. a letter in 1964 encouraging him to commit suicide. COINTELPRO also surveyed a lot of musicians who had similar ideologies like Jimi Hendrix, Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole, and many more. They have also been confirmed to have investigated a bunch of rappers as well. The FBI, not necessarily the—
Bro, I'm telling you, bro, people try and cap, bro. It was hard to be a black man, bro, and it still is sometimes, bro. Look at all the hate that they're giving Kai Cenat right now, just for being the shit, you know, the #1 guy right now. Dude, it's hard.
COINTEL program. So it should not come as much of a shock that they were also investigating John Lennon. The reason was because after getting married to his wife Yoko Ono, he became a bit more of an activist, famously protesting for peace on his honeymoon with her by staying in bed for a week, which got a ton of attention. On top of this, they made a song called "Give Peace a Chance," which became a huge anti-Vietnam War song, with many protesters marching and singing this song. The US government had just lowered the voting age to 18, so they were concerned that Lennon would influence the youth to vote against President Richard Nixon. It got to the point that the FBI was trying to intimidate and deport John Lennon and his wife. For a long time, John and Yoko fought heavily against the government by criticizing
That's what I'm saying, bro. A lot of these artists, bro, they really did have the influence, bro. That's where the music is. That's where the media is. And that's where the generation is going, bro. They really be speaking for the people in their music, bro. And when it comes to peace, you know, the world doesn't want peace. So what we're gonna do?
them, supporting the Black Panther Party, sympathizing with Marxist groups, and more, which back then especially the government was not too fond of. John claimed that for years the FBI tapped his phone and was following him. He said in an interview, "When it first started, I was followed in a car and my phone was tapped. I think they wanted me to notice, to scare me. And I was scared, paranoid." For years though, these were just claims and we had no real proof. Until a historian by the name of John Wiener, yes, John Wiener is his name, you heard me right. John Wiener began pressuring the government by researching the FBI's surveillance of John Lennon for a very long and thorough amount of time. So the FBI finally released their files on John, where everything I mentioned turned out to be true. You can actually find these files online and see all of their surveillance of him. So big shout out to John Wiener. It turns out that since he had a drug charge back home, they thought it would be easiest to deport him. They even allegedly thought about setting him up with a drug bust. But a Nixon official said it was a very bad idea since they would get so much bad press. So while this does sound too crazy to be true, it was 100% real. And another crazy music story
that's crazy,
that sounds like a myth, is that Keith Richards snorted his dad's ashes. Keith Richards is a rock—
Yo,
rock star mainly known for his role as the guitarist with the Rolling Stones. And a big part of his aura, like many other artists from his day, came with doing tons of drugs. And years after the Stones' peak, more and more stories continue to come out about different antics the guy got into during their run. One of these rumors came about after Keith jokingly said in an interview that he snorted his dad's ashes. During an interview with Enemy magazine, he said, "The strangest thing I've tried to snort? My father. I snorted my father." He continued, "He was cremated and I couldn't resist grinding him up with a little bit of blow. My dad wouldn't have cared. He didn't give a shit. It went down pretty well, and I'm still alive." This strange answer in the interview took over headlines all over the world, dominating the news cycle with a mostly and understandably negative response.
Bro, the power of trolling, bro. Even back in the day, bro. Couldn't resist a little bit of rage bait.
Almost immediately, the Rolling Stones PR team released a statement saying it was an off-the-cuff remark, a joke, and it is not true. File under April Fool's joke. And even Keith weighed in on the debate himself, giving some context on the website. He claimed that Enemy took some creative liberties in their publishment of the review, and that while most of the story's details were true, specifically snorting the ashes, Enemy got some major details wrong. Mainly that he mixed the ashes with blow, which Keith claims is false. So because of the Rolling Stones comment, a lot of people believed it to be false or a rumor or a joke, but Keith confirmed it to be true later on the Rolling Stones website.
No, he definitely did it, bro. He definitely did it. When you start hearing a guy explaining that how his father wouldn't care, justifying it, he's definitely done it.
He also doubled down a couple of times, like in his 2010 memoir and in an interview with CBS, where he painted a bit more of a descriptive picture of what went down.
It is true. You did, in fact, do it.
I ingested my ancestor, yes. Mainly because I'd had his box of ashes around for about 5-6 years. Somehow I couldn't part with him. You know, I mean, I couldn't toss him to the winds or do some ceremony, and he would have cringed at that. And honestly, I could not resist. I just scooped him up there, took out a straw, see you, Dad. And I did a little line of him. Yeah, I did that. And the rest of him is around this oak tree, which is growing incredibly well. And ingesting your ancestors has been a very, very, very important thing throughout history, many ancient cultures.
Bro, he's not just admitting to it, he's suggesting to it, bro. He's recommending to it for the masses, bro. He says, bro, do this, bro. I loved it, and you guys should try it.
Do that.
And it seems that Keith has no regrets, as a few years later he doubled down again on the move even further. This is by giving his daughters permission to snort him when he dies, which he even said, "I'll give them a straw." So while this myth is mostly true, it definitely solidifies how crazy a lot of these rock guys like him and Ozzy used to be, especially with all the drugs they were on back in the day. If you like this video, you might like my video about some of the craziest
great video, guys. Tell me, guys, what you guys think about the conspiracy theories. Which ones do you think are true? Which ones do you think are false? What you found interesting? What you found gross? I think the whole bat and bird head eating, that was wild for me, bro. That was the craziest one. Tell me your opinions down below, guys. W video. Tell me what you guys thought. See ya. Yes, sir, guys. You made it to the end of the video. Just want to appreciate you guys again. If you enjoyed yourself, please hit that like button. Also subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So please, guys, do me that favor. Hit that noti button and subscribe. You guys know what to do. See you in the next video. Later.
Amen.